Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy Yeehaw Yadam, and we're here getting ready for the Dallas One Piece Regional. We got Camilo in the house, bro. How are you excited for this 1,000 player event?
Yes, sir.
You already know, guys. All right, we'll see you in Dallas. Excited to see all the boys there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this vlog, and see you in Fort Worth. So with a whole lot of playtesting and hopes, dreams, gaming, we set sail to Arlington, Texas. Now, we didn't do too hot in Peoria, so that's really been haunting me slowly. Nightmares. Oh, another white beard. No, he had 3 white beards. What do I do? And with those nightmares, you bounce back. You Rocky Balboa that. You get up every morning and you get on the sim. You grind it. You play the 16th Zoro match for the day. You think you had enough, but you haven't had enough. You play, you get aced, it's okay. You get white-bearded, it's okay. They have 10 radical beams, you call a judge, but you push through it. And with that, we're going to Texas to try and do our best with Luffy. Let's see if we can come back like the captain. So we're back home, guys, and what a regional it was. What an experience. Went in with high hopes, wanted to do a lot better than Peoria. Wanted to show our showing that we can not only commentate, but we can definitely play this game. So I'm excited to have done so well, so I can have proven that to myself, to my channel, and to kind of merit what it is that I do. But I just wanted to sit here and tell you guys about my matchups now that we're finally sitting down. I was able to write them down. I know a lot of people go ahead and do that during these events. So I wanted to go ahead and showcase that. So I think round 1 I played it versus Doflamingo. Shout out to my opponent, super cool dude. I think he ended up top 64 in Peoria. He played really, really well. He just got a little unlucky. Didn't see Peronas. I also played triple Whitebeard. He was a really cool guy about it. He's like, he just triple Whitebearded me, and he was able to take that very well, and because I know how frustrating that could be, especially from the Dolphy side. Then I played Eustace Captain Kid round 2. Now my opponent was really cool dude. We were playing the whole match. It was super duper down to the wire, and then last minute on my final turn I had too much pressure. I kind of baited him into going for lethal, and I was able to out combo. I left 2 up, and he must have thought it was a hawk, but it was actually double rad beam. And I was very low in cards in hand, 3 in hand, 2 rad beam, and like a 1k. He goes for game, like I take the first hit, he goes 12, and I just double rad beam, and with my board I was able to lethal him. Round 3 I actually played a local Emil, you son of a... No, I'm just kidding. He was also playing Eustace Captain Cringe, and he was able to beat me. Now my opening hand I mulliganed, and I mulliganed into triple Whitebeard Pistol Chopper. So that didn't go too well for me because my turns were, and I'm not even joking, turn 1, Chopper. Turn 2, 8 face. Turn 3, 10 face. And it was like, I think turn 7, I summoned like a Nico Robin, which he immediately outed with like a Neko Mamushi, which is, I went ahead and blocked, he like hit, and then he like killered it or something. And it was just, I had nothing on the board, and then I just had to 9-drop, 9-drop, 9-drop. But by that time, when I played my first 9-drop, before I played my 9-drop, I think he went Eustace. I went 9-drop, you went Eustace, I went 9-drop, put him down to 0 health, and then he's like, okay, turn my Eustaces sideways, and it was very tough to get out of there. I think I was maybe 2k away from countering out of that game, but really well played to him. Round 4, Eustace Captain Kid again. Man, there were 20 of them in the event, and I played 3 back-to-back. I was like, no shot. This game was actually on stream. It was on the 3 Swords production stream. I was able to take it by the skin of my teeth. My opponent noticed he had no counter power in his hand, and he just started going leader ability face, and I didn't have any counter power in my hand, so I had to go back at him, and fortunately I was able to out counter his final turn, and then I lethaled him in the weirdest way possible. Like, he bluffed a Punk Gibson, I fell for the bait, And had he drawn a 2K out of life, his last life, I would have lost that game. But really well played to my opponent. Then I played against a Zoro. This Zoro, I believe he was a viewer. Super dope guy. If you're watching this, shout outs to him. Played really, really well. I think he was telling me, like, I'm surprised you're not playing Zoro today after making your videos. Very tight game once again, but I was able to just edge out at the end of the game just because I had one Whitebeard that allowed me to kind of stall him the turn. And that's just the power of Whitebeard versus Zoro. Making your weenies swing for 7 is not an easy task. Then again, we go against, I think we go against Eustace. No, sorry, I missed the rounds. It was Zoro round 4, Eustace on stream round 5. Then I played round 6, a Smoker player, which I know Smoker is a better matchup for me, but he didn't really see a Borzolino. He didn't see like the 10 drop. When I played my Whitebeard, he went like Suru Sakazuki, which I guess he was like ready for the Whitebeard, but that's still 4 cards out of your hand to remove a Whitebeard. And even though, yeah, you got Whitebeard off the board, you couldn't pressure me that turn, and you removed 4 cards. So right after that, definitely because of the lack of good cards that he drew in conjunction, he was in a really tough spot, and I was able to just take it away. Then I played versus Hybrid Whitebeard, the Moby Dick Straw Hat variation, which was a little bizarre because you never know what you're going to get with that deck. They'll play a Moby Dick, and you're like, okay, it's Stage Beard. And then all of a sudden, you see him then play a Nami, and you're like, okay, interesting. But the reason I was able to find out early enough is when I swung for 6, Boatbeard usually takes all the hits. They do not care. But when I swung for 6, immediately he thought about it. And I was like, this is Hybrid. I've got to pressure this guy heavily so that he can't go Whitebeard with a Moby Dick up, because that's just too much. Was able to edge that one through. Then I played Zoro. Again, another viewer, super cool guy. Shout outs to him as well. He was able to take me down all the way down to 1 life, but once again, Whitebeard came and saved the day, plus Radical Beam. You just combo out of their final turn, and then you can just lethal them from there. And my final round was a Luffy mirror match. I hadn't played against Luffy all day. The guy played really, really well. He states that he was playing Luffy since like set 1. It's his main deck. He's happy it's good again. And it's just, he played the matchup really, really well. I was just the one that got to go on the play, so I was going first. And because of that, I was able to like keep consistent pressure. And even though he double Whitebearded me, I just drew like all the counter power in my deck. I drew my Rads, I drew my Hawk, and then I forced him to go for like a lethal, a weird one. He went for a weird lethal turn, which didn't end up in his favor. I countered out, and then I just 15'd him for a game. Lastly, we went to top 32 after that. I was ecstatic. It was supposed to be one more round, but the undefeated lost the down pair, so there was only one undefeated left after Swiss, immediately ending the tournament at round 9. So we start day 2 against a Doflamingo player, which, my goodness, that deck is terrifying. There was only 2 or 3 that made it to top cut, and I'm like, it had to be me, huh? So I play against a Doflamingo player. It's on stream on 3 Swords Production. I was very sleepy, so I didn't play it too clean, but it was good enough to get out of it. We played the full 3 games, so I got the first game, he got the second one, and went to the third game. And third game, once I saw my second Whitebeard, I started feeling a lot more relaxed. But the buzzer is something you have to be considerate of, because that's something that can just end the tournament very, very quickly, right? I think that I finished the game as time was being called in my round. I hit him for 18, and he wasn't able to counter out of it. Then I played against Jonathan, the guy who won the event. That guy drew so good. After he beat me, obviously to go from 16 to 8th was a huge jump, because now you get a serial Luffy as a prize, right? So anything up from 8th place is just gravy. He ended up winning, so it's even cooler. But when he beat me, he was like, yeah, and he was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to like be rude. And I'm like, brother, don't worry, like, you won, you deserve this. It's okay to be happy. Like, I know I lost, but I'll be back for the next one. So even though we don't have a serial Luffy yet, guys, we're going to keep fighting for it, and let's see where this adventure goes. So I'm going to go show you guys my deck list now. Stay tuned. We'll talk about it for a little bit. I'll talk about my specific choices and how I got there, and hopefully that helps you understand why I chose Luffy, why I chose the things I chose, because my deck was very different from the other Luffy decks. And thank you guys for joining me, and hopefully we'll see you at another offline event. All right, guys, so we're back with the deck list, and this is the deck list that I was able to pilot all the way to 10th place at the Arlington Regional. Now, this was the biggest in-person event, and I was super excited to do so well, and I want to show you guys exactly why I got there.
So first things first, let's talk about the fact that I didn't play Zoro. Zoro was a deck that I was expecting a lot of Whitebeard, especially after Peoria and my poor showing. I know how powerful that deck can be, and yes, Zoro can beat it. It is a winnable matchup, but if they just see a very specific curve, the matchup is terribly in Whitebeard's favor. So after getting blasted by Duval and Jonathan at Los Fiends, I had to switch it up and play something that if I didn't want to just concede to a really good Whitebeard draw, I wanted to go to make sure that they have to work for it. Like, they have to beat me with a deck that like can handle the matchup a little bit better. So I ended up on Monkey.D.Luffy. Now, Monkey.D.Luffy, as funny as it may sound, we're back to set 1, and it's a leader that I barely ever played. If you know me from set 1, I was a huge Zoro enjoyer. I would always say Zoro greater than Luffy. Mid-range Zoro was the way to go for set 1. Forget Luffy. You're coping on playing Luffy. And after playing him for about like 3 days before the regional, just to test out any sort of red deck variant, yeah, I was thoroughly impressed. The fact that you can apply pressure while developing, and it just, I don't know how to explain it, but it just felt so smooth. Like, the deck didn't feel clunky at all, where sometimes Zoro has turns where it's like, I have to attach it onto my leader, and then by doing that, I slow down my development, but I also got to attach it onto my characters to make them powerful enough to attack. And it just felt like they had turns where it was like, ugh, like it didn't feel like it flowed. But Luffy, on the other hand, exact opposite. Every single turn was very, very clean. You can always put pressure with your leader, with your characters, depending on how you attach your Dawn, which Luffy lets you do very easily. You can manipulate your turns very, very crazily, and all of a sudden you can swing for like 7s, 8s, 9s, when they weren't really expecting it. So they're taking life very aggressively, and towards the end of the game, when you have cards like Newgate on the board, and even it doesn't matter if they have 10 cards in hand, those 10 cards may not, like, they may be able to counter out of your lethal, but they will not do it for 2 turns in a row. So you'll be able to pressure them so heavily that they'll go down to like 3 in hand, and it's like, now you have to make sure you lethal me, or you lose to like a 15 to the face, or if I have this Luffy, I just can go through an unblockable game stand. You have to combo out of 12 with 2 in hand, which is impossible to do. So because of that, I ended up playing Luffy, and it felt really, really good. So I got a lot of inspiration again from the winning deck list from the Australian regional. Now, this gentleman, who I think plays for Team Seafood King, those guys are very attuned to the One Piece meta, and I want to shout out to them. I watched their video, and I thought he was very, very clever at what he did. So the main theory was you wanted to play cards like Nico Robin, Vista, and Mass Deuce, which I went ahead and spoke about earlier this week as like the destroyers, right? So these cards in general deal with really, really aggressive starts from your opponent. If your opponent opens like Nami, which sometimes you can ignore, but like cards like Nico Robin or any sort of like little threats that they go ahead and try to summon, Sunny Kun, for example, Gordon's, you can go ahead and easily remove them with these cards. Nico Robin with a conjunction of Gordon or Otama can almost remove any sort of mid-game threat that your opponent has. So you invalidate the mid-game entirely and say, now we're going to the late game, and guess who's the champion of the late game? It's me, because I play Newgate plus Rushers. So using Zoro aggressively early on in the rounds, you have Zoro swinging for 5s, defending your Zoros. And on the next turn, if you get to unrest your Zoro, now you're like, okay, Zoro 7, leader 9. Like, you're just hitting for so much pressure while removing theirs that they're in a very, very bad spot, and it gets out of hand very easily. So let's talk about the weird numbers that I have here. Starting off with, it's a 3 of a Makino, 3 of Gordon, 3 of Curly to Dawn. So why a 3-3-3 split, and why is Chopper in my deck? Well, I'm a numbers guy. I like really clean numbers, and in general, I wanted my 1-drops to be efficient enough that I would go ahead and be able to draw them consistently. So right here, it shows an 18 curve of 1, which is a little bit incorrect because it's counting the Radical Beam. So I am playing 16 1-drops at this time, which is right around where I've been saying you want to be when you go for Searchers. 17 is probably the lowest you can go. I had to go a little bit lower because I wanted to go ahead and make sure that like it wasn't my only game plan. I wanted to beef up this other zones that I have, and I'll explain to you them very, very shortly. So definitely, I'm going to play 16 1-drops. Makino is a great card, but the only cards that Makino can really buff are 2Kers. So you have to look at Makino as a way to make it her an attacker when you have a 2K on board. The 2Ks are Nami and Gordon, and oftentimes I like to keep Gordon in hand as a concealed weapon. So I'll have a Nami, or maybe I'll have a Vista in hand, and my opponent will go ahead and try to make this play. They'll play a 6k body, and then I'll be like, I'll present the Gordon, immediately use Gordon's effect, Nico Robin to clear it, or play Vista, and then I can use leader ability to even play pressure that turn, hit him for like a 7 on top of that. It's really, really nice when you're on the play or when you're off the play. So Gordon, very rarely I played it on board. The only time that I would consider possibly playing a Gordon is in matchups where they have to play these big creatures. Kinemon and Kid are 2 decks that really come to mind. When it's their turn that they're going to 7 and they have less than 2 bodies on Kinemon, they're going to Odin you, play a Gordon. Go ahead and summon that Odin now, brother. Or if it's Eustace and they're going to have to Eustace Captain Kid you, like they're going to 8, they're going to 9 Dawn, play a Gordon. Go ahead and play that Eustace. Go right ahead. Let's see what happens to it. So it's a card that makes your opponent play weird. It's a 1-drop, and I just cannot stop talking about how strong Gordon is. I'm not trying to hype it up. It's just, if you've played this card in a red deck, you'll understand. Minus 3k is huge. It basically says clear whatever you want. Your opponent will summon a Luffy, rush with it, and I have a Nico Robin on board, and I'm like, cool, Gordon, Nico, clear your Luffy, also hit you for 7. Like, what is happening? Really, really good. Curly to Dawn is one of the cards that facilitates Gordon more than anything because it is a card without any combo power or counter power. You need something to facilitate drawing all these 1-drops, right? And your 1-drops are all really, really impactful. Otama, one of the strongest counters in the game, if not the strongest. Makino, an aggressor in combination with Nami. Nami being the searcher for your entire deck, and Chopper being one of your defensive options. So you have a total of 9 defensive options that you can draw. Nami, which is like the sack option, because if you go Curly Dawn into Nami, you feel great because then Nami can find you like a Luffy or a Zoro or another 2k. It's just, my goodness, this little early game package feels super good at letting you stabilize and get to your crazy, crazy late game. Now let's talk about the destroyers. Why did I go 3 on the Mass Deuce? 2 reasons. I don't think these cards are necessarily needed. Mass Deuce is a card that cannot be searched in the deck. It's a card that you have to kind of see. So you want to see it in numbers of like 3 to 4. 4 means I want to see this card. 3 is like, I'm okay with seeing this. 2 is like, sometimes see it. And 1 is like, I may need 1 at some point, like as a tech card, right? So I put Mass Deuce at 3. Funnily enough, I only have 3 Altards, so it just works out perfectly, you know what I'm saying? No, but definitely didn't think I needed 4 of this card. I knew that the field was going to be very Law. Didn't know, but I expected the field to be very Law and Zoro heavy, and Mass Deuce at 3 seemed to be just the right amount. Now, I had a lot of push and give between my teammates about how many Vista we should play. I know a lot of people went with the 0 option, opting to make it for more 2k. So if you remove Vista, you can up this, and now you have 2 more 2ks, which seems really good. The fact that Vista's a 1 is also nice because people don't really check you for 1. They don't go 5 at lead very often, and Vista is able to, with Robin in conjunction, to be almost your only 1ks, right? Your Nami, your Vista, and your Robin. So really oftentimes they would swing at me and I'd have the 2ks, but I wouldn't have 1, and I don't like over countering because in situations that unless I need to, I probably won't do it. So Vista was there as an option for that, and as well as, again, early game decks, Vista's there to take care of it. If I can go ahead and play versus Law and I can stick a Nico Robin and then Vista them at least once, or a Mass Deuce and a Vista, I should probably be fine to go into my Newgate turns. And once Newgate's on the board, Newgate's like Nico Robin on roids. So that's all my game plan was for those matchups. And because of that, I did play a very low count of it because, again, I did want to win specifically the Whitebeard matchup, and that matchup you don't really ever field these cards. So I ended up going with this little split, which is a little bizarre, but what makes it better is the fact that I play Uda. So Uda is a card that no counter power, clunky, it's a 4k, but it's really interesting because it makes your choppers and all of these 1-drops super duper powerful. So if you play Gordon and your opponent outs it because they're like too afraid to play their drop in terms of like Eustace or Kinemon, they'll go like Yamato, rest, attack it, and now you lost your Gordon. You're like, damn, that card was really, really strong. Well, they're not expecting you to Uda, grab the Gordon pistol them, right? Or do something along those lines. So Uda being able to grab everything from my deck that isn't these 2 dudes is crazy. She has access to my entire like library. Not only that, I can recycle my Vistas, I can recycle 2Ks, I can recycle Curly into Nami, I can recycle Nami, Chopper, like all the power play cards. She ended up performing so well, and this 2-2 split of Chopper Uda is something that I was very much teasing with the idea of, and I'm excited to play it in my deck because it means that I can outgrind a lot of matchups that you weren't expecting. So if you're not expecting me to have these cards in Dolphy, in red, all of a sudden, like, you're like, oh, they're out of gas, and it's like, I grab Uda grabs me the Don grabs me Nami, and my goodness, I turned one card into a full board. And it's like, wait a minute, what? So because of that, I did want to try it out, and it did better than I expected, but it wasn't like the keystone of my deck. Definitely a really cool card, and I was very, very happy with playing it in my deck, but I understand why people just went for a very clean 4 ofs, just like Jonathan did in his first place deck. Then Zoro for sure is the key. 3 Luffy seems to be the way. That's, again, an idea that came from the Australian list. By having 3 Luffys, this is a card that, again, preps you for the green matchup. You don't need this as much as you may need the Zoro because of just the cost efficiency, but this card does come up. He's easier to defend, and he very rarely, like, doesn't get checked by Whitebeard, so like it becomes a pseudo blocker. All your rushes end up becoming pseudo blockers, which just let you get some time to get to your very strong late game. I then played a 2 of Radical Beam. The card's just broken. And then 1 of Gum Gum Red Hog. Gum Gum Red Hog again because I thought I needed it for more destruction, because I did opt to go a little low on these cards right here. So this card was just something that actually took over in a lot of games. And Pistol, 4 of it is super strong, but again, I'm a 3 pistol enjoyer. You know me, guys. And yeah, that's the deck list that I was able to find.